Okay, so good evening, everyone. It's nice to see so many faces again, albeit virtually, and I hope everyone's doing well with lockdown 2. Although Angela, you've just come out of lockdown 2 in Wales. I'll do some introductions first, and then I'll go over to Anne for some apologies. So first, we've got a new member who's joined us, Paris, and Paris is joining us in Group C. Is that correct, Anne?
Yeah, yes, she's a primary teacher.
Yeah. Hi, yeah. Paris, I don't know if you want to say hello to the group. I don't know.
Yep. Hi, hello everyone. Nice to meet you all. I am a primary school teacher in St Teresa's in Wokingham, a Catholic academy. So it's lovely to come over and join you all. So thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, and we're. I think the Wokingham SACRE is absolutely amazing, and the members you'll find over the coming months, and if you're with us for years because you sign up for a 4-year term, no pressure, are absolutely amazing.
Brilliant, lovely, thank you.
We've also got Philippa, who's with us tonight, and Philippa, my understanding is you're sharing your role with Louisa. Is that right, Philippa?
Yes, that's right. So we chatted before and she couldn't make it, so I'm come. Sometimes we'll both come, but there'll be one of us.
Okay, so that's Philippa, everyone. Hopefully Philippa's pinged up on your screens as well. Nice to meet you, because I don't think I've met you yet, but yeah, nice to meet you, albeit virtually. And the next one's it's very bittersweet. I'm sure you've all seen the email about Anne, and it's kind of, I'm really sad about it, but I'm excited that Anne is obviously going off for retirement and has got lots planned. But we've got Catherine, who's going to be joining us, and Catherine's with us tonight, and she's waving on my screen. Hopefully you can see her. And Catherine will be taking over from writing the minutes. So Catherine's here to observe this evening. You're very welcome, Catherine, and we look forward to working with you in the coming months. Anne, have we had any apologies?
No, because I think Graham Howe is here, because he did send apologies, but I think he actually is logged in.
I don't see him on my screen, or I don't see his name in the list.
Hang on a second, I thought I saw it. No, you're right. He asked for the link which I sent him, but maybe he'll join us later then. You know, okay. He might not have realised I'd sent it, because I did only send it just before the meeting. So so he sent apologies, but he may well turn up.
Okay. Something else I also should have said as well, if you're not speaking, if you wouldn't mind just keeping your mics on mute, just because that way it can be a little bit disruptive. If we hear lots of sort of feedback, or sometimes, I know like in my house at the moment, the 2 boys are getting ready for bed and I'll mute in a second so you can't hear them having story time. And the other thing is, if you do want to ask any questions, if you have the hands up facility, if you could use that and I can see all the participants and then I can direct questions to the appropriate person. If for whatever reason you don't have the hands up facility, if you would mind putting something in the chat box, and then Emily's monitoring that for me, and then Emily will sort of just jump in and say, oh, such and such person has a question. That's it from me. This is the time of year where I pass over to Anne for election of chair and vice chair.
Well, I did contact everybody quite a while ago, well before half term, asking for any nominations, and I have not received any, and Beth and Stephen are both willing to stand again as chair and vice chair. So I am assuming that unless there's anybody right now wants to put anybody forward, that we would go ahead and accept Beth and Stephen as chair and vice chair again. So I'm not quite sure how we do this. Do I ask everyone to put their hands up to agree?
Or do we just need someone to nominate and second?
Oh, actually, yes.
I guess we could just raise our hand.
Yeah, I think somebody did actually say they would nominate, but I haven't checked my old emails. So I'm sorry, I can't remember who that was. Maybe whoever it was would remind me.
We've got several hands raised, Anne. So are you able to see the raised hands?
I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So
but they're at the bottom and they're just oh, I see, it's the initials of the people.
If you look in the participants list, you can see who's got their hands raised.
Right, okay. Yeah, they also show along the bottom. Well, I think looking at this, it looks to me like everyone is in agreement.
if anyone has raised their hand for another reason or is not in agreement, maybe they'd like to unmute and say something. Otherwise, we'll assume, I think, that all those hands are saying you would like to elect Stephen and Beth, if that's correct. Brilliant.
I think, yeah, we think we.
Okay.
Thank you,
Cool.
Julie. Julie's happy to nominate or second. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I know Beth and myself, we talk about SACRE quite a lot, and whenever we're in governors meetings and stuff, we always talk about what a wonderful group of members to work with. So thanks for voting us again. Okay, so if we get our way through the meeting quite quickly, because I'm sure there's lots of fun things everyone's looking forward to on their wet and windy November evening. I hope you all had an opportunity to read had an opportunity to read the minutes from our last meeting, which was way back in June, just as we were coming out of lockdown. And I'll go through the matters arising. Actually, if we do the matters arising first, and then we can confirm that the minutes are a true record of what took place. So the first one, Anne, you contacted Ecocide Campaign.
Sorry, Stephen. Can we just ignore that first sentence, because that should have been deleted? It does actually.
Oh, okay.
It is actually one of the. It's actually 4D.
Oh yes, yeah, I can see it. Okay.
I didn't realise I hadn't deleted, because that was just when I was first sort of. In fact, it was when I was showing Catherine how the software worked, and I put that sentence in as an example and forgot to delete it. So just ignore that first bit, because it crops up later.
Okay, so we'll ignore that.
Yeah.
Members to let Catherine know of any links with places of worship. Catherine, I don't know if you've had many, given obviously the ongoing pandemic. Catherine, we had a. Well, Catherine, your microphone's not working again. No. Maybe if you just type it, and then we can come back to that. And then Emily can feed back to the group, if that's all right. And Catherine also, 4B is you as well. It's to investigate links on mindfulness and CBT. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind just typing a bit of response, thank you. And to collate ideas from members in chat box to share at network meetings.
Yeah, I did that.
Yes, if I could just jump in there and add to what Anne said, and also this links to Catherine's matters as well. Catherine's actually shared quite a lot of links with us, that some to do with collective worship and some collective worship ideas from her school, and some links which we have shared via Education News and email to RE coordinators. And there are some other ideas from the chat and the discussion at the last meeting that Anne has collated, that we will make sure are shared at network meetings and via Education News. So yes, thank you for the links, Catherine, and everyone else at the last meeting.
Can we minute and just our thanks to Catherine for all of those links, because I know it was obviously quite a big piece of work, and just thank you to everyone else who shared any links with Emily and Anne. So 4B, and this is the bit where it does say stop Ecocide group.
Yes, and I managed to get in touch with them after quite a lot of faffing about, because their website, I couldn't seem to work their form, and it's because they used Safari or something as a browser. But anyway, eventually got it filled in, and I got the certificate this evening, which I haven't even had a chance to look at it properly, because it came literally just before I logged in for the meeting. So it's a nice certificate, and we fill it in and say when we sort of put forward our support. And I'm hoping then that we can actually send it to SACRE, or publicise it widely, put something in Education News. So I can share it if anyone wanted to see it. I could share it on the screen, but might hold things up a bit.
I think we're happy. Maybe at the next meeting or something, or just like add a picture or something to the agenda pack or something. But thank you for doing that for everyone. 4E was Emily was to publicise SACRE vacancies and to distribute membership list, and I'm to follow up with NQT. So Emily, did you have an opportunity to?
Yes, so we publicised the vacancies in Education News, and we also linked in with Julian Bushell, who's the manager of the Secondary Federation, and he publicised with secondary head teachers. We also emailed RE contacts that Anne's email list, and a result of that is the excellent news that Paris has joined us.
Yeah.
We do still have an outstanding vacancy because our constitution allows for 6 members on Group C. So potentially we could have a secondary teacher or another primary teacher. So we do still have 1 vacancy.
Sharia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I spoke to the people at St. Teresa's school in Wokingham. It's the one. There aren't that many Catholic schools in Wokingham, but it's one school. We visited there a couple of times, and the teacher that we deal with, I'm still waiting to hear back from the principal, because I said, could you recommend someone to be a Catholic member for the SACRE? Because if anyone would know who might be good, it would be a Catholic school in Wokingham. So I could send them another nudge, but they did say they'd get back to me.
That's Paris.
Yep, Shira, that's me. That's me. I think you spoke to my colleague Sheila Hoover.
Are you at St. Teresa's?
I am, yeah.
Are you a Catholic?
I am, yes.
You just joined as a SACRE?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, so result. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't know.
No, that's right. You spoke to my colleague Sheila, who passed it on to
Okay.
our head teacher, who asked
Right.
me. So I co-lead RE with Sheila.
Okay.
So she looks after curriculum, and I look after collective worship.
But
So
results.
yeah, it works. So well done.
Okay.
Thank you. And in terms of following up NQT interest, I've been in contact with a couple of NQTs, but not had anything back. And I think they're perhaps maybe a little bit overwhelmed given going back in September and sort of teaching during the ongoing pandemic. And I think hats off to teachers for all that they're doing at the moment. So I haven't pushed that, if I'm being honest. I think we'll just see how things pan out over the coming months. And I would get in contact with NQTs again. And to distribute 4F, SACRE resources to schools.
Yes, we've done that as well. And I think it's on the Schools Hub website as well.
Philip, you've got your hand up.
Thanks, Stephen. I was just wondering, in the Group C is the teachers category, is that right?
Yes.
And does it have to be an RE teacher?
I guess not necessarily, no, because Michael, for example, is still a member of that group. It's just somebody who's got an interest within education. Yeah, so no, not necessarily. So Michael's obviously not teaching anymore, but he's got a union background. Our primary heads, I don't know their background if they're an RS background, but again, they might not necessarily. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone with an RS background.
We've got lots of links because we're at the centre of an academy trust. So
Okay.
I could ask there, lots of primaries where they wouldn't, maybe not the RE specialist, but there might be others who'd be interested. So I can ask there if that's helpful.
Yep, definitely. Thank you. That would be really helpful. Beth, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. Yes, I spoke to one of the teachers, an RE lead in one of our primary schools, and he's quite interested in joining. So I'm very happy to approach him too.
That'll be useful. Thank you. Okay, and then finally for G, Students Take Resources Platform to SACRE Hub. Beth, I don't think I've missed something. We haven't had a hub meeting this term, have we?
Angela, I think we've had one, haven't we?
Angela,
we had a hub meeting at the end of last term, the summer term, but there hasn't been one for the autumn term.
Yeah.
I think the hub meetings are on hold at the moment while the final bits and pieces are being done around the West Hill project. So we're just waiting further notice from Anne about when they're going to resume.
Somebody's got their mic on and we can hear their conversation. David, I think it's you. If you wouldn't mind muting your mic. Thank you. So I haven't 4G. If you wouldn't do that as an action for the next meeting, just because we haven't had a hub meeting, so I haven't had an opportunity to share the resources platform idea with the rest of the Berkshire SACREs. So those are the matters arising, and I hope you've read the minutes. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to clarify from the minutes from our meeting in the summer term? And if not, if somebody wouldn't mind proposing the minutes as a true account of what happened. Thank you, Beth. Somebody to second them?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Anne, did you get that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 5, autumn term 2020. Angela, I'm assuming this is your item. You're going to sort of give us a bit of an update on where we're at with
me actually.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm using multiple. So I've got my sort of iPad here with the agenda, and I've got like the computer here. So sorry, my apologies. Emily, over to you.
Thank you. So we just thought it might be helpful. Obviously, there are lots of people in this meeting that work in schools and will know better than I do what it is currently like working in a school. But for those of you who don't work in schools, we thought it would help to sort of set the context for our meeting, to give you a bit of information about how it is in schools at the moment. So those of you that work in schools, if you feel I leave anything important out, then please do add to this. But just to give you a bit of a flavour, so obviously some of the challenges that schools are dealing with at the moment is staff and children having to self-isolate because of the pandemic. Schools have had to put in place plans for remote learning so that whenever children are self-isolating, they're supposed to be offered a remote learning package. So that's been a huge amount of work for schools to put that package of remote learning in place. We have had, as of just before half term, we'd had 37 cases of COVID-19 in Wokingham educational settings. That's including early years, nurseries, etc. So not too many cases given how many settings we have. But even so, we have had children self-isolating, which is causing a challenge, especially when teachers are trying to do all they can to help children to catch up after working at home for so long during the lockdown. What else should I say? Yeah, attendance generally has been really good in Wokingham schools. Before half term, it was above 90%, even given the self-isolation that's been happening. So that's really good.
Emily, sorry, Beth's got a question.
Okay, sorry, Beth.
Emily, if I could just go back to that remote learning and say that we have a huge amount of pupils in our schools in Wokingham who don't have access to IT. I know that in Southlake we've quite a few, and we have 3 emergency machines. In Wangels, where I'm a member, we have 42 children, and that's having had a few community grants to buy. We've still got 42 children who don't have access to IT. These are not special needs children or pupil premiums children. These are the only just managing, the living in poverty children who cannot afford machines. We're trying to find out how many there are through the borough. I don't know if any of you working in schools have got any idea about what's going on in your school, but I know I've been doing some surveying of what's going on in the Woodley schools, which is my area. So I'd be grateful for any information of children in your school who don't have access to IT, whether it's secondary or primary, so that we can have a look at how big the problem is. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there are obviously some laptops available through a government scheme for disadvantaged pupils, but there will be pupils who, of course, are not eligible for that and still need a laptop. Yeah, thank you, Beth.
Sorry, Emily. Julie, you did have your hand up. I don't know if you had a question.
It's all right, Emily just answered it.
Oh,
I'm going to say about the government scheme.
Thanks, Julie.
And would you mind just doing as an action item, just to members, if they could send information to Beth around IT provision?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, obviously schools have had to adapt this term to working in a COVID secure way, which has meant things like rearranging classrooms so that the children are sitting in rows facing the front. And that's meant teachers changing their teaching methods. Staff and children are working in bubbles, which has all kinds of implications for timetabling. And it means that staff are having much more limited contact with their colleagues than they would have in normal times. Schools are having staggered start and end times to try and minimise the numbers of children coming into school and leaving at the same time. They're having staggered lunch times, which means that overall lunchtime can go on for quite a long period of time, often with senior leaders having to supervise that lunchtime. Now that we've gone into a second lockdown, I think we're hearing that there are greater anxieties from parents and from staff about schools continuing to operate. And we were hearing that before half term, teachers were incredibly tired and really feeling the effects of all the extra work that they'd had to do because of the pandemic. And head teachers very mindful of trying to support teachers' well-being. And obviously we're trying to do as much as we can in the LA to help schools. We have a weekly drop-in meeting for head teachers. Sal, the head of learning and achievement, writes an email to head teachers every day. We have a series of round table meetings on different topics for teachers to join. So we're trying to give as much support as we can, but just really wanted to set the scene that there's an awful lot going on for schools at the moment and a lot for them to think about. So we obviously need to be mindful of that in any of the work that we're trying to do with schools in terms of RE and collective worship.
Okay, thank you. Shahid, do you have a question?
Steve, that's just to actually back on what just Beth said. As you probably know, I'm a governor at Pullman School. We had a similar issue as well, around about 45 laptops or IT equipments were required to provide to the people who actually don't have don't have them access to. But through various grants and schemes, right, we were able to meet the need. So I think it was difficult. It was a challenge. It took about 6 months before we got everything together. But I think at the end we did able to make it.
Thank you for sharing that. It's sort of useful as well to, I think, be mindful of the grants out there available as well. Does anybody have any other questions for Emily? Okay, thank you, Emily, for sharing. I think it's really useful, and also useful for us to just be mindful that whatever we do as a SACRE bears in mind welfare of the staff, which we do anyway, but it's just useful just to bring it to the forefront again. Angela, this is you, development plan and budget, item 6.
The development plan is me, but then we're handing back over to Emily for the budget. So with regards to the development plan, the main news that we have, or the main things to consider, is our offering to teachers in terms of training and events and so on. And I think what we've managed to do is quite remarkable in that we have provided and continue to provide meetings and training events free of charge for Wokingham teachers, which is provided for through Wokingham SACRE budget. We have managed to continue even through the pandemic to have the primary network meetings, and having surveyed teachers in secondary schools to find out what their needs are in terms of training and CPD. We are running a course next week that is about exam technique for GCSE, better thinking and better writing to improve GCSE performance. And also we have the primary subject leader training coming up in January, which will possibly partner with Bracknell and Reading to get numbers up. But will be something that is provided to Wokingham teachers for free, and has been well received in the past. So the only other thing to say about the development plan is that we're always looking for SACRE members to be more involved and engaged within school work. I'll work with schools, training events and so on. So if anybody has any thoughts or ideas about how we can increase members' engagements in those areas, then we'd be very happy to hear those. And also we would like to extend a welcome to any of the SACRE members who would like to attend any of the training events that I've just mentioned as well.
Thank you. Angela, could you share the dates with Anne? And you probably have already. And then Anne, if you wouldn't mind just emailing them out to everyone again. I've attended the network meetings a couple of times when they were face-to-face, and I found it really useful, especially as a secondary specialist, talking to some of our primary colleagues about what they've been doing. And actually the GCSE session also sounds really interesting as well. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing the dates. Does anybody have any questions for Angela around the development plan? Shahid, your hand's still up, so I don't know if that's from the previously or if you have another question. David, your hand's up.
Yes, I was just going to ask, is it possible at this time of, is it possible at this time of COVID to go into schools and so on, or would we have to be remote learning and so on? Because I'd be interested in doing some more with schools, but it seems that at the moment teachers have enough to do without us being there in some ways, and therefore it's we've got to wait until hopefully this passes.
I think this is just Angie, so we can jump in as well. I think that a lot of the meetings, I understand, they're all going to be virtual online. So I think there's nothing stopping you sort of joining and jumping into that. I don't think, and you kind of sort of said at the moment, I don't think it'd be advisable for any of us to go into schools at the moment. I know a lot of schools, I know my school, for example, though I'm on leave at the moment for another year. We're not letting anybody in apart from teachers and students. And I'm sure it's the same across all the other schools. But yeah, definitely if you're available to attend the online sessions, I would definitely suggest that. And I know that the primary and secondary colleagues are always grateful to see members of SACRE because we do support them so well compared to other local authorities. Julie, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that primary schools, we aren't having people into school in person. But if anyone, we have had the vicar in on Zoom and on Teams to do, like, rather than have the vicar into class, you've had him on Teams. So if you're going in for something that is related to what's teaching, if this local school is available to do a Teams meeting, that would be possible, I would have thought.
Sharia, you have a...
Yeah, just because our business actually is going into schools. And we've actually switched over completely to Zoom, and we've been visiting loads of schools on Zoom, and it's fantastic. It works amazingly well. There's no reason why schools shouldn't be able to have visitors on a regular basis. Just do it on Zoom instead. It's fantastic, really.
Again, I guess that's useful to sort of for us to be mindful of that. I mean, you've got experience of it working, and it's obviously worked really well for yourselves. So, yeah, I guess useful for us to be aware of for development plan purposes. Any other questions? No, Emily. So if we go back to you for a budget update, please.
Yes, thanks, Stephen. So hopefully you've all seen the budget update that was included in the agenda pack. So do let me know if anyone's got any queries about that. You'll see that our total spends at the end of October were 1,719 out of our budget of 6,800 for the financial year. So we've still got a considerable amount left in the budget. Obviously, Angela submits an invoice to us once every term for her time. So she'll be submitting an invoice in December. And we have allocated pretty much all of that 6,800 in our budget plan, but there will be some things, as we mentioned at the last meeting, that will cost less because of everything happening remotely at the moment. So, for example, we haven't got travel expenses for Angela or for anyone going to training or anything like that. We're not having refreshments, unfortunately, our SACRE meetings. We do have to pay to have the meeting webcast, but that costs around £40 for the last meeting. So yeah, has anyone got any comments or questions about the budget or the budget plan?
Moving forward, when you normally do the application for us, is it likely, because we're potentially going to spend a little bit less, that the local authority will be like, well, actually, you don't need all of that money? Or will they take into account that, obviously, given COVID, the pandemic, that our spending will be a little bit less?
I think they will do. I mean, to be honest, I think in the grand scheme of the council, they see the SACRE budget as really quite small. So they don't tend to look at it too closely and ask too many questions. So our budget has remained at 6,800 for a good few years now. And I would assume it would remain the same next year.
Are there any other questions on the budget? No? Okay. Thank you, Emily, for sharing that. Just pull up the agenda again. So,
sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Shahid. Yep.
Just a question on having a question about £40 to actually broadcast it live. Is that the requirement that our meetings have to be live broadcasted, or can we not actually put the link later on the website? This way we can actually save £40, or consider
it is actually a requirement, Shahid, unfortunately. Yeah, there was an act passed, I think it's called the Coronavirus Act, and as part of that act, any meeting of a statutory function, which the SACRE is, has to be broadcast live. So there's no way around that, I'm afraid.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for, I didn't know that.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Angela, we're back to you, and I think there's a few sort of little updates that you'll be giving us. So if we start with item 7, feedback from the network meetings, which you kind of touched on already, to be fair.
Yeah, I have. The only network meeting to feedback on is the summer one, because that wasn't mentioned in our last meeting. So originally that was scheduled for the 23rd of June. It didn't take place on that day, and the teachers were sent a resource pack with materials for home learning and socially distanced RE, and a further online meeting was then arranged, and that was rescheduled to early July. And the focus of that meeting was on RE in the new educational context with the pandemic. And also, the contribution that RE and collective worship can make to the recovery curriculum in schools. So there is the autumn meeting that will take place in December. Teachers have asked for that to be focused on subject knowledge. And then moving on from there, we have other projects that we would like teachers to think about, which we'll talk about in a later agenda item.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? We're storming through our meeting this evening. I don't know if you want to do the next ones just back to back, Angela, and we'll take questions at the end, because probably some of them, if there are many updates, then they'll be linked. Around like national updates and NASCRE updates and any SACRE projects.
Okay, so the updates that we have for autumn, they didn't actually go out with the agenda pack, and it was as well really because there have been a number of some small and some significant changes given the situation with the pandemic. So it's just a reminder about a few things that are going on nationally, and following today's meeting, the information will be circulated to members in document form as well. So to remind members that there is the Spirited Arts competition, which we've talked about in meetings before. Uptake of that was very high during the pandemic, and there is a video lesson. The competition is ongoing this year, and some really interesting themes for students to engage with, and it's something that students can get on with if they have to do some element of home learning as well. So an example of some of the themes are we have far more in common than that which divides us, God's good earth, where is God, healing and inspiring. So GCSE numbers, I'm not going to say too much about results because obviously we were in an anomalous year in terms of how the results were calculated and so on. There's been a small decline in numbers for GCSE. In England, it's around the same proportion decline as in Wales, but very small indeed. So there's more information on that in the handout that is going to follow today's meeting. We have a number of resources that we would like to engage teachers with, and one of those resources we talked a little bit about this in the last meeting is anti-racist RE. So NATRE and RE today have been working with Free Churches Group and Methodist schools, launching a project to help teachers tackle racism as part of RE lessons. So part of the project is enabling a team of 60 plus Black, Asian and minority ethnic teachers of RE and different members of communities to articulate their own perspectives of race and anti-racist education. There are a number of free resources that teachers can access, and links can be links have already started to be shared with schools already. So it would be really good if SACRE were able to further publicise that particular project that's ongoing at the moment. A big issue for secondary teachers is going to be the changes to the exam series for 2021. It has been determined that there are going to be no adaptations to the content or the format of the religious studies exams for 2021, but almost certainly the exams are going to take place scheduled around 3 weeks later, but there hasn't been an exam schedule published as of yet. So this is changing day by day. Wales are taking a very different tack, and there's going to be an announcement on that tomorrow, and whether things change in light of what happens in Wales is going to be, well, it's going to be interesting to find out what happens with it. But at the moment, the exams are as they stand for RS, and just scheduled later on in the summer term. The government have made various statements to say that the curriculum needs to be broad and balanced, even within the current times, and that RE is one of the subjects that must still be taught, except in exceptional circumstances for individual pupils. And it has been recommended that all GCSE subjects are followed as they would have been prior to the pandemic. And as I say, Nick Gibb, in an answer to a parliamentary question, actually specifically identified RE as a subject that is compulsory and still needs to be taught within schools. There's been an increase in the number of secondary trainees, which is good news, which means that the subject is still being seen as vibrant and relevant, and we are getting good trainees coming through for secondary RE. We continue at RE Today to produce and to give access to materials for self-isolating pupils, socially distanced RE, and to help teachers to be ready with any further, in the event of any further lockdowns. And we can share a link to access those resources. They're not just produced by RE Today and NatTre, they're actually from a range of different providers, and so it's kind of online hub where teachers can go to find materials that are good and reliable for RE. Our national training event, Strictly RE, this year is going to be strictly at home. So that's going to take place the last weekend of January, and there's going to be 4 keynotes. One of those keynotes is going to be from Richard Quay, who is the Chief Inspector for RE, and various other high-profile speakers are going to be giving keynote addresses at Strictly. It's going to be an all-weekend affair. And teachers can dip in and out of the sessions whenever it suits them. So there'll be a link for teachers to find out more about that. And one local update is that the Inspiring RE conference that was due to take place in Milton Keynes on the 21st of October, I think it was, is now being rescheduled to the 21st of April. The hope is that it might be able to take place as a live event, possibly more likely that it's going to be online. That's just £60 per delegate, and Wokingham teachers are very, very welcome to attend. So they're the national and one local update there. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions.
I don't see any hands up. Thank you for that, Angela. In terms of hub updates, so like item 10, SACRE project hub updates, as Angela sort of said earlier, we haven't had a hub meeting this term. I think things at the moment are just slowing down until sort of that project is finished. But when we met in summer, the quality of the work that is being produced is really good, and it'll be such a useful tool for teachers. And if you remember, it's the students and teachers interviewing members of different faith groups using the questions from the locally agreed syllabus. So teachers can use bits of those clips in their classroom. And what I saw and Beth and Angela saw, like I said, was a really good quality. So I'm looking forward to that project being completed once COVID goes away and does its merry thing. Anyway, Anne, is Michael calling in? Anne, you're muted. And then Emily, you've got a question which comes to you in a second.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and before we get on to AOB, I missed out the annual report, which should have been on there. So I think Angela or Emily might want to say something about that. So.
And to be fair, Emily did email me saying, can we talk about the annual report? And I forgot as well. So sorry.
No, my apologies as well.
Emily or Angela, I don't know which one of you wants to share or talk about the annual report.
I don't mind saying something about. Oh, Angela, do you want to?
I was pressing the wrong function then. Sorry. No, I don't mind, Emily, if you want.
Okay. I mean, hopefully, apologies that you didn't get it in the agenda pack. But we did email out, I emailed out the annual report for the last academic year to everyone this morning. And in fact, the version I emailed to you didn't have Stephen's forward, but we now do have that. So following this meeting, we'll send you out the complete draft annual report. And thank you to Angela for all the work she's done compiling that. If any of you have any feedback on the draft report, please do let us know. Angela and I met just before this meeting, and actually Angela had spotted a couple of things that she realised needed to be amended. So Angela, do you just want to share with everyone what the amendments are that you noticed were needed?
On the it'll be the third page, under the Wokingham SACRE title, we have said there that we've met once each term to progress our work. I think we just need to be a little bit clearer there that we did actually miss a meeting, the spring meeting, just to highlight that. So just in case anybody kind of pulls us up on it, and I think it's it's good to be as clear as possible. And the second point on that page, towards the bottom of the page, we've said that we've been advertising for Buddhist members and church members in Group A. Perhaps we should also mention that we have been very active in attempting to recruit a humanist or non-religious member as well, but that hasn't come to fruition yet. So those were the only 2 points that I thought needed a slight amendment.
Thanks, Angela. The other bit that we'd usually include in the annual report is when they're available, the GCSE results. But as Angela was mentioning earlier, probably this year it's not going to be appropriate to include GCSE results in the annual report because they're not comparable to other years. So probably the information that's in the annual report as it stands is what we will include. And obviously, as you know, we always get it formatted so that it looks really good with pictures and really colourful, and then we share it widely as a celebration of the SACRE's work.
Are there any questions around the annual report? No. Okay, so before we do move on to any other business, just to confirm the dates of the next meeting. So we've got Monday the 1st of March, the spring term meeting. And we've also got Monday the 14th of June for the summer term. Obviously that depends a lot on COVID, and we'll keep in touch as well. Just going around for then any other business, I've got one bit, and I know Michael hopefully is going to be calling in for his any other business. Angela?
Yeah, sorry, Stephen. I've somehow managed to miss out the SACRE EGM, which we've only just it's only just been planned, but it's for Tuesday the 17th of November. So SACRE is welcome to send members along as delegates to the online Zoom meeting, which is going to take place between 10 and 12 on Tuesday the 17th of November. So if there are any expressions of interest for that, we need to get the appropriate paperwork sent off to SACRE by this Friday.
If anybody is interested in going, if they wouldn't mind, Anne, is it right if we coordinate that for you, and then you could send to Angela? So I know Michael's gone a few times and he's found it really useful and beneficial. So if anybody does want to go, please just let Anne know. Thank you.
Also, there are elections taking place. I don't know if anybody on Wokingham SACRE would want to be nominated to be vice chair of SACRE. That's a 6-year commitment, so it's 2 years as vice chair, 2 years as chair, and then 2 years as outgoing assistant chair. So I don't know if there's anybody on SACRE who would want to put themselves forward for that.
Again, if anybody's interested, I think that if maybe, Angela, if you don't mind, if people get in contact with you directly for that one, if anyone's interested in becoming vice chair.
We would need. I mean, this is hot off the press, and we need to be able to produce pen portraits and a very short pen portrait, and also a statement of what they could bring to SACRE, and that has to be done by Friday to SACRE rather, that has to be done by Friday as well. So we don't have much time to do that.
Okay, so yeah, if anyone is interested, if they just let Angela know. Sounds like an interesting opportunity. Just be mindful that it is that 6-year commitment is all I would say.
Yeah, and executive committee members, if they serve for 3 years. So if anybody's interested in that, if they could get in touch with us regarding that as well, that would be good.
Thank you. Emily, you've got some AOB.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. It's just an idea for a sort of mini project that I was discussing with Angela earlier. Some of the teachers who are SACRE members might be aware that during the last academic year, a working party of primary and secondary teachers and some local authority people worked on a document that looked at all the foundation subjects and thought about what are the key concepts that children need to understand in that subject by the time they finish year 6 in order to be ready for the beginning of the curriculum in year 7. And in that original document, we didn't cover all of the foundation subjects. And one subject that was missing from that version was RE. So, and we have had a few schools say to us it would be really great if RE was included in that document, because some Wokingham schools are using that to support their curriculum planning. So I've had a discussion with Angela about how we could look at developing the RE section of that document. And we're thinking that in the spring term primary network meeting, we could open that up to RS teachers in secondary schools, and we could have a discussion there about what do we feel are those key concepts, obviously based on the locally agreed syllabus. What are the key concepts that children need to understand for RE by the end of year 6 in order to be ready for the beginning of the Key Stage 3 curriculum. So just to let you know really that we've got that idea about a possible project, and any suggestions or comments or questions or any members that would like to be involved in that, please let us know.
It sounds really exciting, and I think definitely if anybody has the time and availability, I would definitely suggest taking Emily and Angela up on their offer of support. I'm just looking down the list if anybody does have any other business. No. So Anne, Michael, what time is he calling in?
Well, he should have been able to be in the whole meeting.
Okay.
I think that the idea was that I gave him the instructions on how to dial in, and I think he can hear the whole meeting. So it's a case of, Michael, are you here? But I have a feeling you may not.
I don't see him in the list, or I don't see any icon.
Because he's not very well, so it could be he's having a bad day. Okay.
My final AOB is, as we know, Anne is sadly for us, but I think exciting for Anne, leaving us at the end of the year to retire. And Anne, I think you've been absolutely amazing. I think you have been the best clerk I think I've ever worked with in my sort of 12 years with education. Everything you do is absolutely stunning and amazing, and I'm just absolutely gutted that we can't all be together to sort of celebrate all your years working with us and all the hard work that you do. And you've gone above and beyond the call of duty while I've been chair, and you've always been amazing. Like when as sort of my clerk, as I've been chair, and sort of said, "Well, Stephen, have you done this? Have you done that?" And I know Michael would say exactly the same. We have got you a couple of little gifts. And a card. I'd love to be able to like ping it through the screen and stuff, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So Emily's going to organise to get all of those over to you. But honestly, from all of us, just thank you, and you will be missed.
Well, thank you very, very much indeed. I am very sad to be going.
You'll be missed. You'll be missed.
Thank you. I'll still be here till the end of the term.
Okay, so we'll get all our requests into you before then.
I'll still be communicating with you. But so that's very kind of you. Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
I don't think I'd let the others know. I think it was just you and Beth and Emily who I'd emailed to say I was going to be leaving, because so I don't think anybody else realised.
We never talk to each other, so they don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
So before we finish for this evening, well, I think if we say the meeting's finished, I'll ask Callum to stop webcasting, and then we can, if anybody does have any confidential things, we can just check up on that, and then we can close the meeting officially. So, Callum, we're happy for you to finish webcasting and